Hey Royalty, welcome back to Tech King Games once again, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my newest redstone contraption. Now this is Connect 4 in Minecraft. While you may have seen this done many a times before, I've reinvented it and made it a bit better. The main feature of this version is it has an anti-cheat built in. It uses command blocks and stuff to make sure that the player that goes, it is his turn. If it is not, he isn't allowed to go. Another thing is I believe this is a bit nicer looking because I know a lot of them actually show the redstone by isolating the button this way and then going straight up with torches. Now, I don't like showing this as much, so I recreated this as well. So to start playing, you actually have to step on this pressure plate here. It'll set your score to 1. Now this is not what player you are, but whose turn it is. So right now it is player 1's turn. When player 1, who is sand, goes by pressing their button, the sand will drop and it'll change to 2, which stands for player 2. Player 2 can then go. Player 2 is gravel, and his gravel will drop, and then it's player 1's turn again. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's actually an anti-cheating mechanism built into this. So, if player 1 were to go, and then try to go again, it'll say, player 1, it is not your turn. Same thing for player 2. He can go once, but if he tries to go again, it'll say it is not your turn. Now, we've also got a reset mechanism over here, which I will show you guys in a second after I explain how this all works. So mainly how this works is we've got command blocks underneath these buttons. They go 7 through 1. Basically, these command blocks are telling the game which button he has pressed. This is button number 1, which sets the score to 1. It's button number 7. This would be 6, 5, 4, etc. Now what's happening is it's setting it to 1. Up here we've got a redstone clock, which is searching for different scores. So the first command block is searching for the score to equal 1. So here you can see that it's looking for a maximum score of 1 and a minimum score of 1. It's also making sure that the objective player equals 1. This is just keeping track to make sure that it is the correct person's turn. Player is just the person whose turn it is. So, when it does receive the minimum and maximum of 1, or 2, depending on which one you are on, it's going to activate this redstone, which is then going to set the player whose turn it is to player 2 so that he can go, and then it's going to set the score for that thing down there back to 0 so the game resets and you can then press another button. Also, when this is supplied, this redstone torch is going to turn off. Pulling this piston back, the sand will drop down, then the redstone light will turn back on, and the piston will push back out. Now, I hope I explained that all well enough, so let's go ahead and take a look at it in action here. So, go ahead and add a bit of a delay so we can have time to fly up. And you'll see it activates here, which turns off the torch, and we'll do that one last time here. Player 2 can go. And then we'll do this. You can see the torch turns off and on, and all these command blocks are activating. I'm going to do it one more time, but I'm going to actually put the game rule command block output to true, so you guys can see what's actually going on between these command blocks. So what happens is when I press this button, it's going to set the score of player 2 to be 1. It's going to set the player whose turn it is to player 1. It does that twice. I'm not sure why it did that actually, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to set the score of player 2 back to 0 so that this no longer takes effect, and then the whole system will turn back off again. And that's basically how it works. I'm going to turn this back to false because we're about to get really spammy here. Now, as far as this goes, right here, it's testing for the score to equal a minimum of 1 or a maximum of 7, and the score whose turn it is to actually be 2. So, when one of those is pressed, and it's player 2's turn, it's going to say player 1, it is not your turn, and then it's going to set the player 1's score back to 0 so that it's ready for the next time he goes. Now this is copied over to both sides, so it's not a big deal. Now these spawners are basically just spawning infinite gravel. They spawn back every second or so. This just means we don't have to stack up sand a bunch and then refill it later. Now, as far as the reset goes, all we do is we press the button here, and pistons are going to drop all the sand and gravel down. And it's going to say game over, didn't press any buttons, resetting game, don't press any buttons, and it'll slowly start to fill up all of this. Now, the belt of redstone is pretty much hidden, except for those pistons, and if you actually fly up here, you can see a little bit of redstone throughout here, but it's not a huge deal. Now, what it's going to do is just going to fill it back up to this level right here, so that it can be played again. It takes a little bit of time, but I did this so it's least glitchy as possible, and it works properly. It'll tell you when it's done resetting you may now play, and you can start playing again. Now, as far as the reset mechanism goes, all that happens here is it first says game over, it then activates this, which is going to activate this command block, and as well as turn off these pistons. I also added a pulse or length limiter, extender, whatever thing that's going to make this a little bit longer because it goes here first, and by the time this is about ready to turn off, this one comes in and adds the extra limit to it. Now, also it's going to start heading this way. The first thing it does is set the player to 1, so that this side may now start dropping stuff again, in case player 2 was the last one to go. It's going to set it to 7, just like these buttons do, just like this button does, and what it's going to do is just going to make this row right here drop it. And basically all we're doing here is alternating back and forth between player 1 and player 2 to set it, and we do this for each row 3 times. 2 times on player 1 and 1 time on player 2. And it has a little bit of delay here because of how the whole entire contraption works, keeping track of whose turn it is, etc. Now we've got this here, which is just going to set the player to 1, and all this. Then it's just going to say game over, or done resetting, you may now play, and it's going to set the player back to 1, so player 1 can be the first one to go. That's pretty much as far as that goes, and I believe I'm pretty much done explaining this all. Also, I wanted to mention, as I said, this is infinite here, and also this actually will fall down into the void. Didn't mean to break that sign, but whatever. Down here will actually fall into the void, so that it is an unlimited playing game, and you can play it as much as you'd like. Game over. Alright, so guys, it can be found in the description box below if you guys want to try it out for yourself and kind of see how everything works a little bit more in depth. I'm sorry if I didn't explain everything too well. I did try my best though, guys. So please comment, rate, and subscribe to become part of the royalty today. And thanks so much for watching.